Everyone, thanks for tuning into today's webinar, another one in the series of Vibrate's educational segments, where we share industry's insight to help artists, labels, event organizers, festivals, and of course other musical professionals further their careers. What is Vibrate? Vibrate is the leading music research and analytics platform that monitors all major social, streaming, and of course music channels like radio, Spotify, Beatport, Instagram, YouTube, and etc. All of those in one place. Well, the aggregated data is used to determine how every artist, label, or festival in the world is performing online. From the data gathered, Vibrate creates insights that artists and their teams use to grow their streaming and radio numbers, engage their fan base, understand music markets worldwide, and of course, probably most importantly, save money on promotional efforts. Today, we will take a look at how big labels such as EMI and of course top artists, the likes of Katy Perry, Snoop Dogg, Pink Floyd, and others, use music analytics to locate, to understand, and of course to improve fan engagement, build their audience strategy, and how anyone, I'm saying anyone, can use their proven blueprint to achieve their career goals. Whether you're an artist, artist manager, label, or event organizer, working with and studying music fan bases is top priority. Whether the goal is to have a sold-out tour, dominate music charts, or have the most streamed new single. The only way to achieve this is by building a loyal and highly engaged following. Now, why is this topic so relevant today? It's because a good chunk of fan-artist interaction happens online through TikTok, Instagram, YouTube comments, Spotify streams, and so on. And the only way to measure and really understand what's going on is through data. Here's where Vibrate plays a key role in the industry, making actionable music insights available to all of us. Before we jump in and start the discussion, I want you to know that there will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So I'd like to invite everybody to write their questions into the Q&A box. We will take time at the end to answer those. For any quick info during the webinar, you can turn to our two panelists in the chat window. Now, we do have some bonuses, like a free strategy session with today's speakers, and we also have a discount code for you, but more about that at the end of our workshop. I encourage you all to take as much as possible from today's sessions, as it isn't every day you get a glimpse into such a debate between an artist manager, an artist, label owner, and audience specialist, providing first-hand industry insights and tips. My name is Lado, and I'll be moderating today's extremely exciting conversation between these three seasoned industry professionals. Vasya Weber, an experienced artist manager and Vibrate's co-founder, will give us a behind-the-scenes look at how artist managers use engagement metrics to help boost their artist's career. Alongside Vasya, we have Umek, a world-renowned techno DJ, the current #1 techno producer on Beatport and 1605 label owner. He'll give us the label breakdown of screening an artist before signing them on. We're excited to have David Boyle, audience strategist founder and IMS Business Report author, who's previously worked with EMI, Katy Perry, Snoop Dogg, and Pink Floyd, and is still advising musicians, luxury brands, and top politicians to discuss how they are using engagement metrics to influence public opinion and boost popularity of their clients. Let's start this discussion. Umek.
Yeah.
As a label owner, you receive plenty of submissions from artists all around the world. Once the music, probably the music is on the first spot, on a priority. What do you do? What research follows? How do you make sure that this is an artist you can work with?
Yeah, first I would like to point out that, as you said, music is the most important thing.
Right.
And it's something that you can build on. But there's a lot of good demos that I get. But then it goes to the next stage where I decide what I will do with that music. And obviously, I will check all the social media. I will check if he or she is a good DJ, we'll check the Beatport statistics, Spotify, how he or she is doing there, and then I will decide if I'm going to sign that artist. And I do that through Viberate because it's super easy. Everything is on one place, as you already saw it, as you already told to everyone. And then then I just sign them.
Well, that's the advice for
I mean,
you.
if it's like check, then obviously you get a record deal. But you have to meet the criteria that I want. So basically, a really good engagement on the social media, obviously, record stores around the world and everything else.
The music industry is moving away from these gut feeling based decisions. Is that right? I mean, that's what you're using analytics for.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, why would you just trust your gut feeling if you have all this data on there and you just ignore it? Like, you must be.
It's irresponsible.
Yeah, super. That's the word I was searching. Yeah, it's irresponsible. It's there. You can see, where you're missing out or where you're doing good. Why wouldn't you use this to your advantage?
Right. David, since the majors are moving towards data-backed decisions, they're spending more than ever. We're talking about money. They're spending more than ever on talent discovery, throwing heaps of money into marketing, whilst artists, sometimes just blow into the superstardom seemingly overnight over, I don't know, due to a TikTok trend or something. From your experience working with EMI, how does this new A&R process actually look like?
Yeah, in my experience, it's really different for lots of different A&R people and lots of different labels. And the way Umek described it sounds close to perfect for me, which is, hey, creativity and understanding the music of the artist, but also, why would you not look at the data? That's brilliant. That balance is awesome. All too often, A&R people are either obsessed by creativity and with total disregard for the data, and I've seen some of that still happening today. But the modern phenomenon is the actual opposite of that. Instead of balance, it's extremism on the data side, which is saying, no matter how much I love this artist, the numbers don't back it up. And so you give up on the artist because of the numbers. And that's crazy. It takes marketing as well as talent to find an audience. There are so many great examples of things which were brilliant art in themselves, but without marketing, they completely failed. To use an example that's got nothing to do with music, the Mona Lisa was not even the most famous painting in its gallery for almost all of its life. It was a pretty good painting, but it languished. It was thanks to fantastic marketing 400 years after it was painted that it became the most famous painting in the world. And marketing, by the way, was the fact that it was stolen. Pretty good marketing. But great art is not enough. You have to have fantastic marketing as well. So don't be obsessed by metrics. Maybe you have tried the marketing that the artist needs.
Yeah, so when you mentioned the data, before when you were describing your A&R process,
Right.
1605, so this is the metric that you usually use, right? So
Yeah.
it's the ratio between, this is Beatport analytics, so it's the ratio between released tracks and charted tracks, and this is actually Umek's Beatport dashboard, which shows that in 2021 he had more tracks and charts than released, which means that some of them dragged from 2020.
Yeah.
But for Beatport, it's from a label manager's perspective, having a track charted versus having not charted makes all the difference in a world in terms of sales.
Right.
And in the end, the label needs to make money. So the music matters, but also it matters whether the music is selling or not.
Obviously, you don't want to see a chart where you have like 50 tracks released and only one charted and none. It's actually, I'd rather see less releases than those releases are staying on the charts longer. As you said, we actually sell the music, we don't give it away. And so these things matter, and I would definitely check this chart. And Vice is right now showing you the chart where I see how fast the track is actually going to the chart and how long it stays there. That's important as well, because you might be good in promoting a track, you calling your friends, you know, they buying your stuff, and then suddenly it just fell down, you know, off the chart. So basically, it's important that you stay there for longer time, and that's something that it's super interesting for me as a label owner. You have much more chances if you're going to stay there a longer time, because that means that people really like your music. You don't even need to go like that high. I just want to see a longevity, so it's like you're staying there for a longer time. That's something that I see, and I see that chart as well. How fast you go to the chart, for example. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days? Are you super hyped? You know, if people are actually waiting for your release, and if you chart quite soon, that means that everybody is like waiting, you know, for the release date, and wham. This is how I use this metric.
Vasya, let's get a bit more specific. How can I, an artist from the UK, for example, not the top artist, use Vibrate's data to understand my fans better, and of course, in the end, get more streams, more engaged fan base. That is the end goal here. So
the important thing to emphasize here is that we at Vibrate, we only measure your success, and we let you learn from the success of others. So we won't tell you what you have to do in terms of content to succeed, but you can look at charts of people who are more successful than you, and just
learn from your peers.
Learn from your peers, of course. So what they're doing, and we took an example. So Alfie Templeman is a UK artist, and I'm going to be completely honest. This is the first time I've heard of him. So our data science team dug him out today for this webinar, and we check his engagement. This is the chart that you're after. So this is the fan base growth here. You can see he has a spike here, but it's not as prominent as his engagement, and his engagement is so you can see it's a really fat part of the chart below. That means
very engaged fans.
Very engaged fans, and the same thing here. So the pink line is basically the fan base size, and this is the engagement. And if this line is above the pink line, it means that he has above average engagement. And this is something that labels are after, because you know, as a label, if this artist releases something, his or her fans are going to pick it up immediately, and that results in YouTube plays and Spotify plays, in subscribers. And at the end of the day, for a label, this means just more sales and more money, more money from DSPs. And for music business, if we take the creative side, creative on the side, in a music perspective, this is something that you're after as a music manager or a talent agent.
Is it important where your fans come from?
Well, it does. It's important. Let me show you here. So it's important if you're planning a release campaign. So if you have a release and you have a limited budget, then you want to focus on countries where the artist already has a strong fan base, and we get that from Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok. And so basically, when you have a campaign, you won't target the entire world because you don't have the money for that. So in this case, you want to focus to United States, Great Britain, Mexico, Brazil, France, Italy.
Alfie is big in Brazil, apparently.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's a huge market, but mostly I would focus on USA and Great Britain. And audience map is also very useful for live shows, because if you're a promoter from the USA, you want to book artists who are popular in your region, right? Not artists who necessarily come from the USA. And you just simply, if you need an artist to book your festival or event, you just check who's popular in your area. You can do this by using social media audience map, or you can go even further and check the city map. So based on Spotify, we can tell you who's popular in your town. So if you're in Sydney or London or Melbourne, you should definitely consider booking Alfie.
This is just wow, right?
This is wow.
And another thing that I just wanted to quickly show is our genre analytics. So if I come back to where I was discussing planning a campaign, you also want to target campaign based on the structure of the audience. So the gender and the age structure. And it's quite easy. So you basically you take a media plan and you pick the media outlets who have predominantly female reach, So females 18 to 34 would be your sweet spot.
Okay, okay, Vasya, we're talking now. We're talking about the existing fan base. We're talking about grooming them, doubling down on the efforts towards that engaged fan base. But what if I do not have an engaged fan base or no fan base at all? This is probably a start of a audience strategy for that part, right?
Yeah. Then I would say go check their content performance metrics. So this is Instagram content performance, and apparently if you're playing a style that resembles disco, which is, I think that this is what Alpha is performing, taking pictures with Nile Rodgers, who's a legend in disco, apparently it pays off. So this is the content. So for artists, in my experience being a music manager, the behind the scenes and personal photos, this is something that fans really like and like to engage with, because they want to know how the artist is like behind the scenes, because they know how they look on stage and what they do, but they want to see the everyday stuff, and this is exactly what they're after.
Yeah, okay, perhaps this is more true for certain genre or certain countries, doesn't matter, the Instagram we're talking about. But I'm sure there are differences between, since Viberate is dealing with aggregated data, not only from Instagram, from Facebook, but from many other sources as well. Does that ratio of where you should put your efforts to change if we look at some other genre?
Yeah, so the important thing with data services such as Viberate is that we don't have a magic wand. So you still have to have some domain knowledge. You know how this is just a tool that will help you understand the business more, and so it depends on which genre you're operating in. It's a completely different thing for different genres. So let's say hip hop, let's compare hip hop and rock music. And this is the fan base, this is the aggregated fan base growth, a monthly aggregated fan base growth. And you can see with hip hop, Instagram is the leading channel, followed by Spotify and YouTube. But if you look at rock, it's majority is on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And if we scroll down to check engagement, so this is the follower growth, and this is the engagement actions, monthly engagement actions. For rock, again, it's Spotify and YouTube, but if we check hip hop, it's a completely different picture. So YouTube and Spotify, which tells you a lot about the nature of the genre, because hip hop it's a much more visual genre as rock. So hip hop artists always make sure that their videos are full of bling and they look good, and so people are watching more videos. With rock musicians, this is something that you listen when you drive in your car, and so this is why it tells you to focus more maybe on streaming channels, to invest more in getting your placements on different playlists if you're a rock musician. But if you're hip hop, then you should put more focus into your Instagram presence. Make sure that your YouTube is up to date and the video production is stellar, and that's how you can learn from big data that we have.
Right. Well, we have Alfie Templeman, is it?
Yeah.
Correct. Let's compare this to David. Can we compare this to you? Told us an interesting thing about audience strategy you were doing with, if I'm correct, David Guetta.
Yeah, and I think there's some really good lessons from that, which you can apply to Alfie right here. So with David Guetta, I was lucky to work with him many moons ago, and he was at a pivotal point in his career. He'd achieved tremendous success already in France, but amongst electronic music communities outside of France. And the question was, what's next? But the question is, how do you grow based on that? And the key insight comes from comparing, or more likely contrasting, your existing audience with the audience of other artists that you wish you had the scale of. And when you compare the two and look at the differences, what that does is to chart for you a path towards success. Hey, these other artists amongst this audience, I want to win that well. Come up with a plan. And if I was Alfie looking at this data, I would do exactly David Guetta did, was just to say, okay, I'm here right now. These other artists aspire to be like are here. How do I bridge the gap? And the places and the differences and the comparisons and the contrasts will tell you exactly the audiences you need to get. And therefore, you can exactly the kinds of songs or marketing or Instagram photos reach the audience you want to reach. So comparing and contrasting is absolutely critical. The other thing I was going to say was about great artists take data and see it as an opportunity and not a challenge. The other David Guetta conversation that springs to mind and is relevant here is talking about particular subgenres of music. And there was one particular subgenre which was really underperforming in the marketplace. And I said to David, well, don't go near that one. And he smiled. I said, hey, why are you smiling? What's that? Is something going on? And he said, well, I'm going to change that. And I think that's the sign of a brilliant artist. You see dips in numbers or you see negative trends, and instead of chasing them, instead of saying, well, I'm giving up and going with the market, you say, no, I'm going to change the market. So use the graphs in really creative ways to find opportunities as well as to understand what you've already done.
This is a brilliant example of the combination of two strategies, old-timey gut-based, gut feeling-based decisions and data-based. Apparently, David prepared a strategy that involves both. David Guetta chose to ignore the data in order to do this move he made, and apparently it worked.
Well, exactly. And I wouldn't say ignore the data. I would say use the dip in the market to overcome the challenge and to find a way to be successful. And I think a lesser artist would have said, well, I can't change the trend. And a great artist will say, well, the trend is going down. Haha, I have plans. I can change that. So it's absolutely using the data, but it's using it in a really creative way.
Well, but from the artist perspective, this is all, we are talking about statistics, we're talking about analytics, which is a scary field to many artists. I mean, Umek, you did not go into music for your love of spreadsheets, probably, you know. And yes, we have moved away from the time when an artist or management or artist team had to gather data from different sources and put them in Excel worksheets and then compare. We have Viberate now, but still, how skilled do I have to be in all of this in mathematics to use and understand the Viberate engagement metrics tools?
Yeah, it's scary at the first sight, but then basically if you can spare half an hour of your life, you know, you're going to be greatly rewarded in knowledge, in data. So you can easily decipher the charts that we prepared. And believe me, those half an hour will change your music career in a sense that you're going to get informations that you couldn't get before. So yeah, please dig in and don't ignore it. That's my advice. Don't ignore it, because you will be sorry.
And I would add to this. So you, as an artist, I know that there are a lot of artists in the audience. So as an artist, you can check parts of your own stats for free on Viberate. So you only have to have a profile, you have to have a claim profile, and then you can check, like I said, part of your stats for free and use this in your advantage. So when you're pitching to a label or to a promoter, if you have stellar stats, if you have great engagement, you can simply do a screenshot and back your claims. So you're not just telling, I'm the best in the world. You can actually prove it. So you can say, my engagement ratio is great. People like what I'm putting online, and this is just a simple argument that no one can say it's not true because you have numbers backing it.
David, back to you. We have been talking about this is a common notion among artists, like data or this heavy duty analytics kills creativity. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about being very deliberate about the audience that you want to get. And, you know, there's two ways to do this. There's like, just put art out in the world and see who engages with it and hope my numbers go up. And that's fine. It's an incredibly art-based way of having a career. And a more deliberate, more focused way is to just be clear on the audience that it is you want to reach, whether it's a certain country or a certain gender or a certain platform, you know, whatever the tools available to you are, but being very, very deliberate about where you want to engage people. And I think that doesn't stifle creativity at all. In fact, it helps you to measure your progress, understand what works, and to really resonate with an audience. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we're in this business for, to help artists to resonate with audiences? So a deliberate, careful path through that is better for me than a accidental one where you throw art out and hope somebody loves it. So I don't see them as being in conflict at all.
Mm-hmm. I see it like a compass. A lot of people are actually just wandering in the dark and asking themselves, like, what do I do? And obviously you go to the page and you're gonna get like really clear insight of what do I do next. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a musical compass.
We're not talking. Yeah, go ahead, David.
I was going to say that's such a beautiful analogy, but just like a compass or maybe a map of directions, like who follows the map literally? Like you're an idiot if you follow the map literally. No, like take interesting detours, be creative, like go see sights on the way, like have fun. Don't be a slave to the compass, don't be a slave to the map. But hey, don't go out without a map.
Yeah. In the end, you're not changing your music based on data. We're talking about changing your approach to certain parts of the audience.
Yeah, you see your weaknesses.
Exactly.
And this is like you can actually see, yeah, this is where I'm not doing that well. This is what should I change. And obviously this is where I'm really strong at. And you continue to doing a good job. So yeah.
Right.
And relatively subtle changes to your plans can make a really, really big difference as well. So it might not be that your gut instinct is wrong. It might be that it just needs fine tuning a little bit. And a good example there would be working with Tiny Temper right at the start of his career. And everybody at the label, Tiny, like everybody, felt like he was going to be a household name. Imagine the world where no one's ever heard his music before. So we research the music, we look at the stats, and it turns out that doesn't look like that's the case yet. There's a relatively niche audience who are excited about him. So instead of doing like big mainstream marketing on launch, we had to change that and do quite niche marketing. And you know what, measuring the progress every 3 months, it turns out that the audience gets broader and broader and bigger, and the history is written now, 7 number ones, which is more number ones than Michael Jackson, U2, Elton John, Britney, and others. So it wasn't that anybody was wrong on their gut instinct. It was just that there was a timing delay and you had to be more careful about delivering that vision.
With Vaser, with Viberate, if Viberate had been a tool back then, would David be able to follow the audience strategy prepared for Tiny Temper back then in all of the data we're seeing right now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's I usually use the analogy when I try to tell people what Viberate is doing. So musicians are basically getting what websites have with Google Analytics. So like I said, there are cases when you can simply snapshot a part of your stats and send it where you're pitching, or you can basically track the success of your marketing career. So you can check whether your trend is going up or down on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. You can check if people are engaging with the content you're putting online. So those spikes that you see here, those are usually connected with whether releases, tours, new successful videos. So you can basically track them down. And this is, so if you're analyzing one artist or 2 artists or 3 artists, you can do this by checking each of their channels individually, but here you can compare metrics. So you can see if there are spikes on the same, in the same month or a week. You can basically cross-check your entire campaign, so how successful is cross-channels. So this saves you a lot of time. But if you need to deal with a big number of artists, so if you're a huge promoter, you need to book like 500 DJs for your festival, 500 musicians. Spreadsheets cannot do the job unless you wanna work with Excel like 24 hours a day. And this is where we come in. So we will definitely give you a thorough overview of the entire industry. So yeah, you can track, you can use this to track your individual campaigns, or just do like a whole industry review, overview.
Yeah, well,
Can I just
guys, go ahead, David.
I want to make a point about some of the stuff on this page, just to emphasize how important it is to use multiple platforms when you're measuring success. And so lots of big labels today still will just like log into their Spotify account, look at the top cities for an artist and use that to plan a tour. Or maybe they've got the YouTube data handy, so they'll just look at YouTube, pick cities from YouTube and use that, you know, to make decisions. That is terrible. I'd never do that. Every platform has a very different profile of audience, and therefore has a very different profile of what performance looks like, where you're growing, where you're declining, and who your audience is. The only sensible way to make decisions about your career is to look at graphs like this, where you're looking at multiple platforms all aggregated together. And that's why like the demographics and the audience data here, plus the aggregate like Viberate scores here are so critical, because it aggregates across all these platforms, each of which tells a different story.
Thank you very much for the time being. Let me just summarize what we have learned today. Well, you have access to the same data as all the major labels right here at Viberate. Ignoring this will be expensive. Get to know your fan base inside out, where they're coming from, what do they like, and so on. Double down on your already engaged fan base, and of course prepare an audience strategy for engaging new fans. Remember, engagement is everything. And my personal note, all of these can be done at one place, here, right here at Viberate. I'd like to encourage you all to enter the Vibrate's Analytics 30-day free trial and apply what you've just learned today to your work in music. Out of the people who enter the trial, we'll pick one lucky winner and invite them to a free audience strategy session with today's speakers. You'll be able to make a tailored game plan and be guided by their industry insight. But since we don't want anyone to go empty-handed, Viberate would like to share a discount code for everyone who goes into trial. This is a special, basically, Black Friday offer, a bit early, and is limited to 400 people. So we decided to share it with you today. Use code GET70 to receive a 70% discount on your Viberate Analytics subscription. Again, that's code GET70 for 70% off. Remember, the trial is free for 30 days, so the discount comes in play after the 30 days. Speaking of the free trial, Vasya, can you guide us through the process? I'm interested, of course, as well, whether
Yeah, sure.
I can get my own Viberate.
So yeah, you just go on this link here. We're gonna share it in the comment section. You click on Start Free Trial. It's gonna take you down. Here you can toggle between paying annual or monthly. So if you pay annually, you get 2 months off. So that's additional discount here. And you click on the Start 30-day free trial, and then make sure to enter all your credit card details, which is something that I'm not gonna do right now. And then because it's tomorrow's Black Friday, so today is like what, Black Thursday?
Yeah, brown.
You can, you apply GET70 code in the discount code field, and you get a hefty discount. And an important thing to say here is this is a lifetime discount. So if you stay our subscriber, this discount is going to get applied to your next billing period, which is not something that we give away every day. So this is really important.
Once again, if you did not hear it, this is a lifetime discount code, right?
Yeah, this is almost too good to be true.
This is, well, no, I didn't know that. Okay, it doesn't matter. If taking up analytics makes you feel overwhelmed, and I understand that. Let me reassure you, Vibrate's resource page offers tons of step-by-step tutorials, guides, and articles to help kickstart your music analytics journey. I think it's about time for the Q&A. So Q&A time. What are the questions here? David, here we have a question for you. I'm an EDM producer from Germany. I started getting some traction in the past 3 to 4 months, mostly locally. Should I just focus on building my fan base here, or should I also focus on getting fans from abroad?
That is such a good question. Oh my goodness. I mean, okay, I think there are two answers, right? So first, EDM is a community and it's based on communities. And so you really need to find a coherent group of people who are excited about your music. And if that's geographic based to start with, that's great. Like cement your accomplishments in your country and go deeper until you think you've done a good job in that, and then move on. Alternatively, it's perfectly possible that you see signs of traction in other countries that you really want to double down on. And so if you do see them, it's a tragedy not to exploit that opportunity. I think thirdly, and then we'll focus, thirdly, I would check other artists who are like one step ahead of you in your journey, maybe other artists with a similar sound from your country. Where are they now? What have they achieved? Because that's what good might look like for you. That's what might be achievable. Okay, so now you've got options. And I think by far the most important thing is not which option you choose, but just picking one and really doubling down on it and going hard at it. That's what an audience strategy is. Be deliberate about your growth.
David, I hope that helps our German friend. Okay, Umek, do you only we've touched this subject a little bit. Do you only follow trends in terms of marketing strategy, or also when it comes to making music?
I would love to say that I don't follow the trends, and I think it's true, but at the same time I would be lying, because I am checking so many promos, so many stores where I buy my music, and I got influenced by the music that is actually trending at the time. So on a subconscious level, I am sure I get affected by new stuff. So yeah.
Yep. It's pretty organic. I mean,
Yeah.
it's art.
It's not something that I would do on purpose, but it's just the way it is. The amount of music that goes through these years, it's enormous. So yeah, I'm sure I get affected by trends.
Right, right. Okay, David, here's a question for you. I'm doing really good on TikTok and really bad on Instagram and Twitter. I just don't have the time to do everything when I'm spending so much time on making music. When should I start focusing on other channels?
Oh, that's such a good question as well. I mean, so first, congratulations on not stretching yourself too thin. I think that is the key thing, which is pick one thing and do it deliberately and do it really, really well. I think the time to switch is when you realize that you've maxed that out, when you see growth stopping, when you're not getting exciting growth anymore. And that's where platforms like this are really useful. Or think back to the Tiny Temper example, which is checking in every month or every 3 months and saying, is this still working? Am I still growing? If so, great. If not, what do I need to do differently to drive growth, either on TikTok or switch to another platform? So I think definitely focus. Don't distract yourself from doing 1 or 2 things really well by trying to do like 10 things poorly. Don't make that mistake. I've made that mistake hundreds of times. But monitor it and work out when it's not working anymore, and then start to ask yourself how you do things differently.
Vasya, maybe you could add to this question. You know, how and when can we make a decision to start focusing on other channels?
So I would say if you can, try to get a manager. So, and I mean, if you're not as big of an artist that, I mean, if you're not the size of an artist who could get a professional management agency, at least get someone to do your socials. There are a lot of people who know that very well. There are a lot of influencers. maybe they're your fans, maybe do some music for their channels, do some trading with them,
Right.
and let them take over your channel. So it's if you're focusing on music, so Umek isn't very good at, to be honest, at social media, but he's an amazing producer.
I suck.
And yeah, I mean, my DJing probably sucks more than your social media skills, and that's why you have to have people who know what they're doing. And it doesn't matter if you don't want to focus on every channel. You don't have to.
Right.
Just focus on whatever you like to do. It's,
Right.
It's easy as that.
Well, here's a question for you, Umek. Do you artists nowadays have to have, are not only musicians anymore. They have to have basic knowledge of music industry, marketing, and so many things. Do you, as an artist, focus more time on making music or on marketing? It's a question for you in our Q&A.
As Vasya just mentioned, I'm lucky enough that I have a management, and they will actually find out. Actually, they check Vibrate to do that anyway. Where are my weak spots and where I should do more stuff? And as I already said, and I suck at social media, and yeah, so that's why I do focus more on the music. But I'm in a specific place where basically, yeah, the management does this stuff for me. But when we go to from me being a label owner, that's another thing. I will go deep into check everything about the new artist. So yeah, I still do look at the charts and the marketing.
Okay, Vasya, a question for you. Love the webinar. I'm totally new to analytics. What's the best way to learn?
So yeah, the best way, and it's a completely free way to learn it, is our resources section. So we have a really rich resources section where our colleague Ariana is going to take you through each and every feature based on who you are. So whether if you're a label or if you're an artist, you can check how to perform different tasks on Viberate. We have case studies, we have tutorials step by step. Webinars, including this one, are stored so you can check every webinar that we ever did. You have PDF guides, you can check our blog. So it's, if you want to learn Vibrate, if you want to have a PhD in Vibrate, this is the way to go. So just check your webinars. When in the morning you have your coffee and just maybe go through a couple of them.
There is a comprehensive library of everything you can do with Vibrate. I've checked it myself. Now, the next question again for Umek. When you're looking to sign artists to your label, how much do you focus on their social media engagement? P.S. I'd love to one day have a release on 1605.
A lot. So I'm just going to mention Mari and Sam Wolf, because they just Wolfie, they were just they are signed to 1605. And when I was checking their social media, I was like, wow. For example, Mari's answering almost every single post, or like she has an amazing engagement with their fans, and that's super important. And let me tell you why. Because we as a label, we can do just these certain things, and I want to see an artist that it's focused on promoting their release as well, so like all forces together, we can move the release. I mean, we can support the release properly, and that's why it's super important to have a great engagement with your fans. Obviously, yeah, it's big importance.
And okay, the next question also for you, but I think Vasya could chip in on that one. As a label owner, what is the best way to promote the label and really get it off the ground?
This is Vibrate isn't a tool to do that. We show you the metrics, and then you have to decide where you're going to go. We just, like as I said before, we are a compass, and we can show you the way, but you'll have to do all the work. So I don't have a magic wand to tell you this. We would have to sit down for 45 minutes and make a plan.
Yeah, this is a question for a marketing agency, maybe, but still, I mean, just don't be lazy, because when you mentioned how active your last signs are for the label. I remember a case when we had, when an artist got a release at 1605, his dreams came true. So, but somehow he forgot to put his release on his socials. So how does this happen?
This is what we hate.
It's the least that you can do. So you don't have to pay a lot of money to have it featured on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Just put it out there. Just do the minimum that's requested from you. That would be. It doesn't have to be a huge campaign, but just, I mean, tell your friends to take a listen at least.
Okay, David. Now here's a question for you, and let's conclude our discussion with that. David, is there something big in terms of trends you see changing in the industry in the years to come? Great question.
Oh, that is such a good question. I mean, I think the biggest trend is going to be that the platforms that you use to engage your audience are evolving rapidly. So we see TikTok coming soon on Viberate, right? But what's coming next and next and next? All these metaverse entities that are creeping up, whether it's Roblox or whether it's Fortnite or whether it's all of the new exciting music-related ones. And you've got NFTs and you've got fan engagement tools like Patreon. If you're an artist, the number of platforms that you've got where you can use them to engage and build audiences and grow your career is just only going to multiply. And the ways in which people can engage with you are only going to multiply. So if you think that social media management problem we talked about a minute ago is tough now, in 5 or 10 years time, that's going to be 10 or 100 times as tough because of all these platforms. So same approach, step back, measure cross-platform, pick 1 or 2 or 3 to really prioritize, and then be very deliberate about who you're going after, and you'll find a way through it.
Great answer, David. Thank you. Well, guys, that brings us to the end of our webinar. I'd like to invite you all again to give Viberate Analytics a go and in a free trial. And of course, keep an eye on your inbox. The free strategy session winner will be announced on Monday, 29th of November. And don't forget about the discount, apparently lifetime discount. That's Get 70, all caps. Again, Get 70, all caps for a 70% discount. If you're as excited about music data and the possibilities it opens up as we are, then you'll be happy to hear that we already have another webinar lined up. It'll focus specifically on labels and music agencies and how they use data in their day-to-day operations. I believe our panelists will share the sign-up link to the webinar in the chat, as well as the Viberate Analytics trial link. Thank you all again for tuning in, and thanks to these 3 lovely gentlemen. Thank you, Vasya. Thank you, Umek. And a special thanks to David Boyle. I also want to thank the mad geniuses that actually brought a power tool such as Viberate to life, and all the extremely dedicated and highly skilled team here at Viberate. I'm very fortunate to have met all of them, making hard and sometimes expensive decisions in the music business a lot easier with the analytics provided on just one place. That's Viberate.com. See you again on December 8th. Bye.
Yoo-hoo.